Must be dreaming. But this game is less Sean Connery and more hello, baby. I'll make you Randy. Blech.
I paid thousands to suck dick.
Hey, what up, Jay? Long time no see. Oh, and you sub. Thanks, my guy.
Not sure.
I appreciate that.
But I'm trying to get.
Hopefully that didn't echo. If that echoed, I can fix it.
No,
I was having some
I did not.
audio issues last stream, and I think the stuff I tried early on to fix that might have actually, you know, had some lasting errors.
Show's
but
over.
it's all good. I didn't hear an echo. Okay, good. Well, right on, brother, because I think I'm technically monitoring and broadcasting while I was troubleshooting. I just never fixed it, but you know, it is what it is. And thank you for the sub. Thanks, man. Here, let's do this, and then I'll give you a shout out. Do you think hell or fireplace? Yeah, update my other ones. Yeah. What up, buddy? Jay Conquers. Let's see what we got. Oh, man, you should stream some Monster Hunter again.
Well, I take it back. That was a bad
I never got to
shot.
see your
That was
Monster
very
Hunter
bad.
era. I came in after that.
Supposed to hit each other, not me.
Oh, ads are gonna start. Oh, but you sub, so it doesn't matter. I miss Monster Hunter. Yeah, did you even play,
Yeah. Oh,
All right, what's the new one?
Dude, she just keeps going when I think.
Shit, what's the new Monster Hunter called?
Yes, hit each other. Good.
Wilds. That's right. Yeah, neither have I. I haven't played since World. And World was amazing. Like, I played a little bit of, I think, one of the 4s on 3DS. I liked it enough, but I got into World. World was great. But let's go ahead and... Oh, yeah, hold on. Hey, Bloody! What's up, man? Give a shout out, too. World is probably my favorite. I think World is it generally accepted to be the best?
Oh!
Let's see what we got.
Is that your Claymore? Oh!
Oh!
Oh! Damn! Look at that clean.
Nice.
Fucking-
The Rainbow Recruit.
Oh,
Rainbow Recruits.
snap.
Oh, jeez.
What's up, Bloody? How you doing?
LG crew. Oh, shit.
Are you two also recovering from hey, what up, Paul? Recovering from the Alien Earth finale? Oh, the echo. World's accepted as the best of the modern games, but a lot of people still miss the old school style. Is there like a best of the old style? Is there like a Tekken 5 of of Monster Hunter? What up, Paul? How you doing?
I've been really surprised how good this game.
You
actually
you
is.
dipped out of the call when you hopped in. Were you having audio issues?
Probably even better if I wasn't trash at it.
Why do you sound so much louder in my left ear? Freaking Paul. Probably For You or Freedom Unite. Is Freedom Unite the PSP one? What was the PSP one called? There's like... No, it's like Strikers or Shining. Still on the fucking plane. Oh, you're on the plane? Oh, shit. Yeah. Oh, nice, nice. Is For You... Is that the one I'm thinking about? Yeah, I played one of the 4s on 3DS. 4DS. Which one is that? Oh, it's just 4. 4G. That's the one I had. No, it's 4 Ultimate. That's the one I got. I streamed all of FU. FU! Pretty mean night. Alright. Let's headed back from Toronto. Nice. How long were you there? That's cool. How much is it to have internet on a plane? Cool. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and start playing this. I had to eat, and it took longer than I wanted. Just say Toronto, no. It's Canada, nah. Your boy's in the VC now. I think he thinks Jeepers Creepers is happening IRL. Wait, what? I don't know what that means. Record it. Stream it. Oh man, dude. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but Jay's stream today was stuff of legends. I'm in first class, so free. Nice. I've never flown first class before. In fact, the planes I've boarded, I don't even think they have a first class, not like in the movies. It's amazing. But the internet sucks balls. I mean, at least you can connect. Let's continue. You guys are cracking me up today, man. I had just a great day. Just from chat, Jay's stream, just good shit today. I was pretty productive at work. Where am I going? Where am I? Okay. I still think Roundhouse, Rose Lab. I think the ball is still here. I'm actually gonna look it up. Resident Evil 8 ball locations? I don't know what you call that. Yeah, I need to find Moreau's ball, which is yeah, they try to keep the riffraff out of first class, so it makes sense. Nice. The door. Oh. Apparently it's this way. All right, let's see. Right? Yeah. Hug left. But I was gonna say, I think I did say, Paul, your guitar analogy in Jay's chat was totally, I think the way to go about it. That worked for me. Wait, do I already have it? Oh no, I don't. About like, you know, you can just make noises on a guitar, you can't argue that, you know, it's not art. But your years of music theory and all that kind of go a long way as far as conveying what you intentionally want. Something to that effect. I just wanted to give you props. And somehow it still didn't work, but it was good. Oh wait, and then I'm not cheating, you're cheating. Is this where it's at? Wait, it's gotta be red though, so it's not in here. Okay. I hate this map. I don't hate it, but you know, I don't love it. I take it though. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. I think. I prefer the analogy of these nuts being put aggressively on your chin represents. Yeah, that is a good one. That is a good one. I'm not gonna lie. I'm sure you can see how, you know, to newbies it might be like a bit of an acquired taste. Explaining the foundation, the concept of it, you know what I mean? Oh shit. Oh shit, there's magnum ammo right here. And then which building? Leave. No, where is... You'll find another labyrinth puzzle to the left. Shed behind the shack. South. Okay, I guess windmill. Oh, stupid. But how was Canada? How many times have you been there? I've never been. Right here. Found it. How's your car? About due for your October window replacement yet? Ah! Yeah, it's about to. At this point, I probably shouldn't even. I should just have like a curtain. You know what I mean? Bastard. I hate how I can't scroll. It just. Oh, well, I guess. Whatever. I figured it out. Mermaid ball. Oh my god. Sorry. The mouse and keyboard stuff, like, it conflicts in an annoying way. I've been here 3 times just for work. So boring trips. Oh. Sorry, it's boring. Okay, we're gonna tilt and we're gonna rotate this way. Yeah, I've never actually been out of the country. Hey, what up, B90? How you doing, dude? Oh, shit! What's up, B90? No! Oh, that was stupid of me. Alright, I'll be better. I'll be good. Good to play some Shadows. How you liking it? I'm sure Toronto's cool. I just tried to get home quick rather than have fun. I feel it. Thumbs up so far. I love Assassin's Creed. I'm sure I'll like it too. I'm still on Valhalla though. And Odyssey. I know a lot of people like Origins, but I think Odyssey might be my favorite one. This one was easy. There's no. Oh, just there was that one pitfall, but that was it. Never got into them. Wait, so which ones have you played? Are you just jumping into Shadows? You savage. Is this your first Assassin's Creed? Pretty much. God damn! Holy shit! I can't imagine that, especially a game with lore like Assassin's Creed. Is it beginner friendly? I heard Shadows is woke, so I declare it a terrorist if I buy it. So I'll be declared a terrorist if I buy it. Yeah, but people are dumb, so I want to play it at some point. I still need to finish Valhalla. I played 1, tried 2, didn't feel it. Whoa, dude, that's usually the opposite what everybody says. A lot of people play 1, and 1, it's good, but it's like, it's kind of a bitch to go back to. 2 is a huge improvement. Haven't beaten any of them since. All right. Wow, I've never heard that before, dude. It's usually the other way around. Like, people are like, oh, I played 1, it was all right, or they just didn't finish it at all because it's kind of a chore to get through. And then 2 is typically where a lot of people say, like, that one got me. And then there's 2-2 and 2-3 in Brotherhoods and Revelations, which are they're all pretty good. I played Black Flag. Black Flag is one of the best for sure. Honestly, I think Black Flag, it's either Black Flag or Brotherhood is what I would rank as like the best of like the classic style, you know, before it became action RPGs. I get torn because Brotherhood's really damn good. Also, wait, and then I think 3 is kind of underrated. 3 also has my favorite soundtrack. Blah, blah. Die, chicken. Is Black Flag the only one you played, Paul? Yeah, I got all the chickens. Give me chicky. What's up here? Certain death. Monsters. Oh, treasure. Arr. Pigeon Blood Ruby. I tried Black Flag, didn't dislike it, but it didn't capture me. What's up? Oh shit, it's Bo! Bo! How you doing, man? I haven't seen you in forever. Thought you
So we learned if we get water on ourselves. we can
nice.
run
That's
through it
Neo, right?
and not take
No, I played 2 and 3. Doing good, man. Been on vacation. Oh, that's awesome. What what are you doing for your
Well,
vacation?
these guys will.
No, I played 2 and 3. So 2, 3, and 4. Nice. Those are good. Even though they do the fucking Kingdom Hearts thing, where
You didn't hear it.
Assassin's Creed 3 is technically like Assassin's Creed 5 or 6.
That was awesome.
1 is AC Origins, 2 is Brotherhood, and 3 is 2. Those are your top 3, Jay? Nice.
William the Lion.
For me, oh man, I loved Origins a lot. But okay, I think I like the story and the setting of Origins, but for me, I think it was the gameplay and like the mission structure, the cult stuff, the cult hunting, and then the side mission stuff in Odyssey. I got Skyrim vibes in that one just because it was like I felt like my decisions actually impacted the world around me, which is funny because you're supposed to be playing through memories. It should be concrete. Wait, 1 is Brotherhood, 2 is Origins. Okay, all right. It's close for you, I could tell. I really appreciate Ask Creed because it got giant towers and saying go here for awkward follow quest. A+ open world design. Been upstate in the woods being antisocial and shit. It's kind of good to get away from it all though, you know? But it's good to hear from you, dude. Well, Paul, I hear you loud and clear. But I think Assassin's Creed is really the it's like the sum of its parts. I do know that it's a meme to dog on the and not without reason, the Ubisoft open world formula. But that shit's good, man. Like anything sounds bad if you say it like that, you know. Wait, where do I go now? Altar. Okay, I'm going to the altar. This way, Papa. Oh God. That's ominous. Ominous. I said that wrong. Oh. Oh, it's empty. I'm gonna do handgun. No, don't leave me. Here. Okay. Blap blap goat. Where crow's at? Let's shoot one. Yeah, that's not a crow. What are you? Are you a special bird? Juicy game? Aw, shit. I just hate Elden Ring because what's the point of an open world if you can't just go anywhere, right? I have no idea of the structure of Elden Ring. So I hate that reference is lost on me, and I apologize. I've never played a Souls game, technically. Not a FromSoft Souls game. Which I think, yeah, there's Souls likes, and then there's Souls games, right? Could be from software. Crystal Wing. Very valuable. Soul Moreau. It's combinable. Okay, it is. Okay, I think that actually goes in there. Very valuable. Oh, I wasn't done. No, I wasn't done. Okay. Save that, and then we're good.
This is Lord Moreau's?
Joey, just play Dark Souls. Any Dark Souls. Paul gets really mad that Assassin's Creed has actual content and quests to engage with instead of boring empty world with copy-pasted bosses. In Souls?
I'm skilled at all sorts of weapons modifications and will do
What game
it
are
for
you
a small fee.
digging at right now? Of a boring empty world in Elden Ring. Oh, that's right. You don't like Elden Ring. That's right. I remember. The worst Souls. And then is Elden Ring Paul's favorite?
Hunger is to be alive.
Duke, something tells me you're not very hungry. And easy game.
Ah, thank you. We've gathered all.
Greatly
the
increases health permanently. Health greatly increases.
Now.
But also, Assassin's Creed Shadows looks bad.
Here's your share.
Why does it look bad? Because I like this open world RPG, this action RPG thing that Assassin's Creed kind of evolved into. I think the gameplay looks fun. It's woke. I knew it. But let me give him the benefit of the doubt. I expect nothing, and you let me down. Let's see, some ammo. Oh. So we like the new RE they announced? I do, yeah. I'm really looking forward to that one.
I saw you eyeing that one.
Are you looking forward to it, Paul? RE9 looks good so far. Yeah, it looks really good. And I'm hearing great things about the new Silent Hill, which I will be picking up on payday.
Yes, I can see why you'd be interested in that.
Yeah, I'm really stoked for the next Resident Evil.
Curing goods is more important.
I like how it like
Until next we meet.
because Outbreak's always been like canon, just not really referenced. So it's nice to see like the next generation, which would involve a an Outbreak character's offspring. So we load some shit. Hell yeah. All right, let me save and then I probably won't play it. I'm still on RE4. Yeah, you gotta play 5, 6, 7, and 8 at least. I would say the Revelations 1 and 2 as well. Any more animals to kill? Don't get any of that. Any more of them hunting? There it is. It's this way. Good. I don't think I got that second one. Can I go that way? Hold on. Wait. I can. Holy shit. All right, we're going back. Okay, yeah, because I didn't pick up the ball over there. Is this way? No, this way. Wait. Sorry. I just got excited. Okay. I haven't played any RE, but I picked up 7 for dirt cheap. Yeah, I think 7... Honestly, I still recommend playing the ones before it, but I think RE7 is very beginner friendly. That is a good jumping on point, I guess, if you want to get started, you know what I mean? And then maybe you can go back after that, but I think just playing 7 is fine. Know what I mean? And if you play it, are you gonna stream it? Hope so. You better. Oh, it's this way. Oh, it's ceremony site. I'll come back. But let me lower this anyway, because there's a treasure. I expect a full city of adorable raccoons like a Ghibli movie. What a disappointment. No skipping games. Start with the original PS1 Resident Evil. No, I mean, that's my recommendation, but I don't think he's gonna do all that. I'm gonna get into the the other remakes, but I most likely won't go to the older versions. Yeah, I figured. I think if you can get through the RE1 remake, thumbs up. And it has quote unquote modernized controls if you want that, so you can just use the analog stick. The original RE2 is literally the best Resident Evil game. It's pretty good, yeah. I still go back and forth between either one of the RE1s and then 2. Be right back, dog farted and needs out. Oh, you can smell it. You're like, oh man, you gotta take a shit. Like I've said, I have a hard time because when I play Resident Evil 2, it's my favorite one, you know, but I always go back to Resident Evil 1, the original one and the remake. And when I'm doing it, like, magic just happens for me. I think RE1 is probably my favorite one. Which one? I don't know. There's an RE1 remake? Yeah, it is. Wait, I thought you knew that. I thought you knew that. Yeah. It still has tank controls and pre-rendered backgrounds, but it's damn good. Which is why I'm really glad Jay is going to be streaming Resident Evil. Like, I'm most excited for the earlier ones, but I just love this franchise so much that just watching him kind of get through it. Geek out as well, because I know he's also a fan. I feed off of it like a fucking energy vampire. He'll geek out and I'm like, ah. Wait. Wait. This way, right? Yes. This a joke? He might be trolling. Because I thought you talked about the remake before, or at least played. I think he played it, maybe. Like, not beat it, but played it. He's enjoying watching us scratch our heads. No, I thought they only did 2. The RE1 I have still looks old and shitty. I think he's trolling. You're saying the remake looks like shit and old? Do I have it? Hang on. I already have it. No. Where is it? It's here. I'd rather have B90's dog fart in this chat than Paul right now. Don't say that. He's gonna leave. Graves in the tree. Graves in the tree. There's a box containing... Where? This game is gaslighting me. Crouch? Where they at though? Where they at though? Where they at though? Pull around to find box. Hold on, I'm gonna find this shit. I'm gonna circle around so good. Shouldn't be all the way over here. God damn it, Castle! I legit thought the Steam version was just a port or slight remaster. It is a slight remaster of a remake. That's funny. Yeah, so back in, what, 2002? It got remade for the GameCube. And it was kind of locked on that until, like, a late Wii release. And then I want to say like 2015, 2016, around there, they bundled and remastered the remake of Resident Evil 1 with a remaster of Resident Evil 0. Sun and Moon Ball Resident Evil 8. Unless I already did this, I'm just tripping. Rudder. Actually, did I already do this one? No, I didn't. So it's got to be over here somewhere. So it says tree, graves. There should be a sun and moon ball like right here. Is it in my inventory? Is it treasure? Oh, so there's an RE1 remake, but it's only way older than the RE2 remake. Yeah, there was a big gap. I am tripping. Village floor 1. Location. Below the word oh. What? This map lied to me. You lied to me. What? Hang on, I am tripping right now. Because R2 looks modern. Take that back. No, I'm just kidding. No, it does. I keep forgetting. You don't really like old games, huh? Or no, it's not even old. I mean, 2002 is fine. I'm gonna throw a fucking fit if I don't find this goddamn sun and moon ball. Where is it? Where are you? I'm sorry. This is by a tree and a grave, and I look over here. Not this tree or this grave, right? No, because that's a full ass grave right here. Sorry, everybody watching. It's further down here. Fuck. Keep looking. This is bullshit. Okay. Where's the altar? This way? I like how they mark where to use it on the map, but not where to fucking find it. Fuck you guys. Up around the back of the small house on the right. For a tree with gravestones. A box with roses on it. I'm trying. House to the right. A tree with gravestones. You. This doesn't look like the one in the picture. Is it this way, maybe? Could be. It loops around. Ah, it is this one. Found it. Alright. Alright, I can go on with my life now. Aha! Here we go now. Where do we fall off now? Let's see. That was easy as fuck. Onyx skull. Tight. Last one. That would be 3. I just want to make sure I don't miss it. Mermaid, and then the last one is going to be. Now, yeah, I can move on. Did I get everything else? No, there's still a lockpick. There's still some. Maybe not. All the treasure. No more wells. Yeah. Oh, there's that door. Yeah, there's no more wells. Like, suspension bridge. There's just bullshit over here. Oh, ceremony site. I think I have to come back to that, but we're gonna go do some exploring anyway. I returned. I didn't know you left. Welcome back. But what did you say the next game you're gonna stream was? Or you don't know yet? You're just playing AC right now and enjoying it? Dog need to poop? Yeah, that's right, that's right. I remember. What kind of dog do you have? I wanted to finish Elden Ring, but I'm also at an impasse. Got too tough. Oh no, I don't go that way yet because there's. Oh, well, see if I can just get in there. Aussie Shepherd, cool, cool. How old? Boy, girl, and name. Yeah, I figured this was kind of a waste of time. Got it yet? I don't. I do. I can't use the flasks. Not yet, at least. Yeah, then yeah, that's completed. Somewhat. I guess I'm stuck on a boss, but I know I could beat him. Just kind of like I'm over Elden Ring at this point, though. You'll probably come back to it one day. Be all rusty and shit. He is 8 and named Felix. That is a great name. Even though I associate Felix more with a cat because of that cartoon. That is a good name. Oh wait, let me sell that shit.
Oh, yes.
Oh, and let me combine that. So it's very valuable. Sell.
Oh, you've brought in something special.
Yeah,
A
I
good
did.
Deal, if I say so myself.
Fine. All right, I got one more gem. Then I save, then I go north. 6 hours, dang, I'm behind schedule. Wait. Joey. This way. Wonder how long Paul's flight is. Show must go on. But yeah, if I can get the other remakes cheap, I will. They're always on sale, dude. One is the only one of the remakes that's in the classic style, meaning like tank controls, pre-render backgrounds, static camera angles, that kind of thing. Want hard copies though. Oh, yeah, you can get those. You can get like the Origins collection on PS4 or something like that, like dirt cheap. You want them on disc, and then oh shit, that actually scared me. Remake. Ah! Where is it? I'm pretty sure they're literally on sale on Steam right now. They actually are. Caps. Stop yelling at me, Jay. No, he's right. They are. At least 2, 3, and 4 are on sale. Those remakes for $40, I think is what I saw. I hear them. See them though. My shotgun out. But yeah, he was saying he wants them physically, right? Hard copies, yeah. Which I respect. He's a collector at heart. Oh, yeah, there's one. There's one. There's one. Oh shit, I didn't mean to fall. Pretty sure my local shop has all 3 for less. Do it, collecting these nuts on his chin. Got him! See, I should stop shooting them when they're up there so I can get their shit. Oh shit. Alright. We're gonna... doing this. Wish I could jump and get that shit, but let me craft some new R&R. Need chem fluid. Oh, I do have ammo. Defeat an enemy from long range with a sniper rifle in story. Oh, that's the only long range one? Better late than never, I guess. I think I did see a pickup. Yep, got it. I remember this part. This might actually be a little bit of a challenge. It's okay. I got this. Green Lantern got this. Did it? Okay, I got some. All right, sick. Fuck. Oh my god. Okay, is that it? Ah! Yeah, there's way more that show up here in a bit, I'm pretty sure.
How do I get this door open?
Yeah, how? Tight, 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 tight. All right, let's go this way. It's going down. Eh. Oh god. Oh shit. Holy hell. That's a pretty satisfying shotgun. Get down here. Oh shit. That was cool. That went through both of them. Okay, I despise controller shooters, so it'll be tough to play these, but one day I'll give it a go. This is fine. Trust me, you'll be okay. But also, I mean, if you really, you could always just buy it. Like, if you want the collection, you could buy it hard copy. But you could also, like, still play it on PC. I can see that being viable way. Like I was saying earlier with Jay, I think the only wrong way to play Resident Evil is not at all. I'm not buying it twice. That's fine. Then yeah, these are playable on console. I know you hate those controls. I don't really like shooters on console either. But I love Resident Evil, and it works. It works. You'll be fine. What's my inventory like? Oh wait, there's a treasure over here. How do I get up there? Oh, it's this way anyway. It is up there. I don't know how to get up there. No ladder. I don't think there is. Yeah, it's a lot of this bullshit. It's like navigating labyrinthine maps. Ooh, gunpowder. Hey, what up, you boy? How you doing, man? You having a good night? I hope you're enjoying the night as much as I enjoyed that entire stream. All right, I'm gonna give up on that. I think I come back like this way, or there's like a something. There's something later. I can get over there later. Oh, actually, I might be able to do this right now. I'm doing alright. Just going through some color theory. Nice. Yeah, I took 2 classes on color theory back in art school. It's very helpful. Now, you did mention, and I didn't realize this, that you're colorblind. So that could actually be a could be a thing. I'm a master rage baiter. It looked like it was working. That was just very fun to watch, is all, and listen to. I did a class on color query. We only studied purple and light blue. I'm legally colorblind. Which colorblind are you? Are you the red and green? There's like, what is it? There's the H1 and then there's the T1. And then there's the A1. Hold on. Types of color-blindness. What are they called? It's protanopia, duratanopia, protanomaly, and deuteranomaly. Yeah, there's red, green, blue, yellow, and achromia? Limited color vision, leading to black, white, and shades of gray vision. Oh, people actually have grayscale vision? Greens and reds. Okay. I think it's the most common one. Does that ever get in the way when you're playing a video game? I'm genuinely curious. Because I know nowadays, most of, if not all, I think AAA games have some sort of colorblindness accessibility settings. Wait. No, hold on. I know where I need to go, but this is where I want to go. I want to see if I can get up there, because there's a treasure over there. That's what it was. Sorry, I got distracted by pausing, looking for something, replying, and then chat. Oh, that's right. I can't go this way. So, yeah, because I can't hop over that way. No. So I'll be back. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure this map changes in a way. No, I just sometimes see shades of color as different colors depending on the light. Okay. Wow, I turned all the way around when I was over here. Oh, it's because I was looking for that. Yeah. Treasure! Can I hop that? Oh, wait. Oh. Silly goose. Oh, this is part I remember. You either can't jump to that, so white men can't jump. Yeah. I like that movie.
This must be their den.
Alright, hold on. I got one healing item. I'm gonna see if I can get, how much shotgun ammo can I make? I'm gonna need it. Here we go. Got mines. I got alright, we're good. We're Gucci. Bring it on, motherfuckers! Oh shit. Oh shit. You bitch. Oh god. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. MODBAP bombs, hell yeah. In fact, for now, I'm actually gonna move these here. Shortcut. Boom. You bitch! I didn't do that. Actually, hold on. Oh my god. Oh my god, oh my god. Oh! Uh-oh! I was talking to a few people about this number one call I saw in North Carolina. Did you hear about it? It was basically someone found Jeepers Creepers. I have no idea what you're talking about. Explain. They found the creeper, I think that's what they call him.
Okay, big guy.
Oh shit. I get them all? That might have been it. Do I just have to escape or... Oh, nice. I can go collect my bombs and shit. Yeah. What's this Jeepers Creeper shit? And when did this happen? Also, are you at work? Sorry for all the questions. Oh shit, they're still here. They're still here! I'm trying to loot. Okay, it's blue now, so I actually got everything. Let me just get the fuck out now. Can I? I think I can. Oh shit, I'm out of that too? Fuck. Alright, let's get the fuck out of here. How did I get over there again? Hey, your boy, I'm on the edge of my seat. I need to know about this Jeepers Creepers. Wait, do I have any more? No, I don't. No, I do not. All right. Sick. In Pender County, North Carolina, someone made a 911 call this week. He said there was someone bleeding on the side of the road, and then in a call you hear a man say he jumped in the back the bed of my truck. I could hear banging on the truck roof in the call while a man was driving the truck. And you could hear the man that made the phone call say that it wasn't human. Now, is this real? Is this real? Oh shit. Oh, that's right. I think I have to fight the big Hagrid looking one. Oh shit, nice. DJ, what up, my clackas and stankas, clankas and stakas? What up, DJ? How you doing? My newest mod. King's orders finally arrived. Withdraw. It is most vexing that we must abandon the border stronghold to those heretics. If I had but a little more time, I know I might be able to turn the tides of this battle. Nay, I should say, I should not put on airs. It's my curiosity that ties me to this place. There are a number of ruins in the vicinity, which the locals say are very ancient. The ceremony site with 4 giant statues, the caves with murals carved in the walls, the stones plinth they call the giants chalice. Where did the people who built them come from? Where did they go? Cotton Eye Joe. It irks me that we must abandon this place without knowing. I don't know. I saw multiple videos with 911 call, and someone else I was talking to said they saw the same video with 911 call. Nice. I hope it's real. That'd be kind of cool. I mean, I doubt it's a Jeepers Creepers. It's probably like some just crazy dude, and they're like, he ain't human, man. He ain't human. Ad break. Sorry, everybody. Yeah, this is the part. I'm meant to fight big guy. Yeah. Yeah. Now I'm broke. That's fine though. Oh, no. Wait. Wait. Oh, there he is. All right, we're gonna equip you. Oh shit! This fucker sprints. Oh shit! My guy's like right in my ear. Holy shit. Where'd he go? Oh shit. Hurry up and die, please. Simon says die. Joey, I actually require your assistance and acquaintance. What's up? I sent you a video with number one call I'm talking about in your DMs on Discord. Nice. I'll check that out after. Oh shit. Die, bitch. Die, motherfucker. Oh! Did I get him? Oh shit, I got him. Holy shit. Shit, Groovy said you something in your DMs. Number 14 through 15. Oh, November 14th and 15th is my organization's 24-hour charity stream. Oh, nice. Do you need like a trustworthy mod or something? Also, what does that fall on? Like, what days of the week is that? I was actually a little, I was scared for a second, but I have a lot of handgun ammo. I didn't realize I had that much. This is where I go, right? Well, that was where I came from. Guess not. Sure, I'm not missing. Yep. No. Because usually you see a glimpse and then you can shoot them and then they come down. Is this the case? Oh, it is. Nice. I thought that was just like, you know, bullshit. I'm rich. Friday and Saturday. Friday through Saturday. What do you need, lad? Okay, I'm going the right way. Wait, did I miss a treasure? Oh, yeah, it's that fucking... Oh, nice. I think I'm actually headed there right now. Oh, shit. Oh, I'm out. Okay. Plan B.
What?
Jason Statham is a Twitch mod. That'd be
You're
cool.
the real deal, Ethan. Well done.
Quit hiding.
Hey, you boy, you like Nick Cage? This guy kind of sounds like him.
Get out of this.
Cool your jets. Just a little bit more, and you're all wrapped up. I'll lend you a hand. So in exchange,
In exchange, what?
first of all, come to me. Put all the flasks in the altar, and I'm sure you'll figure the rest out. See you.
Bye. Dejon. Is that Nick Cage? It's not Nick Cage, but I think he's probably instructed to sound like him, maybe. But Dijon. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate that. I take it you're an RE fan? We've come to the right place. Is that it? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Now his name's Heisenberg, which is why I named the stream I Am the Danger. But he does kind of sound like Nick Cage to me. And he looks like Peter Stormare. Hi, I don't remember this at all, actually. Can I pick that up? What is that? No. Oh. Wait, right? Guess is yeah. Yeah, it's a dead end. Okay, so either one of two things. It's over here. Fuck. One, you could join me for a handful of hours to keep me awake and we can bullshit and play games. Or two, you can help me with custom alerts for when charity donos hit. Yeah, so that's like 2 months out. Do you need like, what kind of alerts do you want? Also DM me this so I don't forget. I have been under the influence. I will for sure hit you up. Just some cool ones because your goal, our goal is 1K this year. Oh, that'd be awesome. But yeah, I don't know. Do you have like a theme in mind? Cadeau implementation notes. Subjects 174 through 181. Subject 174. Mikhail M. Characteristics 21. Male. Silversmith. Scars from pneumonia. Scars from pneumonia. Results. Low affinity. Cadeau failed to grow. Body transformation. Drop in cognition. Another lichen. Sent to pasture. Subject 177, Bernadette B. Characteristics 21, female, no occupation, no history of illness, results death. Subject 181, Alcina D. Alcina D's nuts. Characteristics 44, female, noble descendant, not from the village, hereditary blood disease, results very high affinity, no loss of cognition, arbitrary, able to control body transformation arbitrarily, applied cognition control procedure sent for observation. It's our 9th year doing this. Our theme is Sonic. Lady Dimitrescu. Alcina D. Yeah, that's her for sure. Hereditary blood disease. 44. MILF. No. Sonic. Dude, you know what you could do? You could probably do like Sonic going, you know, fling, and you got like the little, you know, the sign. It's like boom. You'll do that, and it'll be like. It'll have something, and we could do like kind of like a new follow zone or something like complete, you know, like zone complete. We could do something like that, like new follow. We could do like a real cool event like that. I could do something like that, and then I'm gonna sell it. But you get first dibs. Da 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 da. Because the thing is, and I think it's just me as an artiste. When I get an idea like that and I get excited, I'll fucking do gross hours, you know? Oh, look at that shit done. But then I'm an idiot and then I overwork myself. And I'll give it like 2 months of this and I'll be like, why am I so sad? Fucking stop moving your fucking head. It's all good though, because it's for kids. Yeah, that's awesome. That's a noble cause. What's the, is it a charity stream? What's the charity? I'm sorry. I feel like there's a, okay. The way I was wiggling around, I saw that arrow and I was like, oh, can I pick up something else? Oh, there is gunpowder here. Oh, it's from behind me. Damn, dude. Ethan's got like eagle vision, like fucking Daredevil or something. Phoenix Children's Hospital. Are you based on Phoenix? I forget. But that is a noble cause. Are kids gonna be watching, or is it just raising money for them? I've seen your streams. I know what kind of man you are. Raising money for them. I love that. That's awesome, dude. I guess I can help out for charity. Fine. I suppose I could donate my time to something that children will benefit from. Organization is #1 gaming team that raises money for them. That's very awesome. That's noble and kind of sweet. Hell yeah, dude. I love that. I really do. Alright, no more lichens, please. They stress me out. Save in here. They tricked me! Also, god damn it, I'm back in here. Where the fuck is that goat? Where's the goat? Where's the goat? What's in the box? I'm about to Google this shit. Like, I hear it. Just don't see it. He's in here. Where are you? Where are you? But this year we're gonna go all out and try to get partners and sponsors. That's fucking sick. He says Friday, Saturday. I could probably chime and help out. Honestly, I've been slacking on my Etsy. So this will actually give me a good reason to get a new listing going, you know? I'm going to have a heart attack if I don't find this fucking goat. Where is it? It's funny, somebody watching probably knows and they're like, over there, idiot, and I just don't see it. I'm sorry. Right there. Let me check these. I hear it, just don't see it. Honestly, he sounds like he's on top of the building. Is he on top of the building? Let me check. What map is this? Is church. Okay. RE8 church goat. It's fucking flipping me out. It is on top. God damn it. All right. Well, I think I heard a monster, so I'm going to check this out. I'm going to save first. I think I just did, but I'm going to do it anyway. Operation date, February 9th, 2021. Recorded by NH. 11:35. Arrived at site. No sign of EW or RW. Oh, nice. I wonder who that could be. 12:10. Infiltrated the village. Engaged with number of bioweapons. Found evidence of EW. RW location unknown. 13:10. Established base in church. Plan of operations. LB. PD. K9. Search laboratory. NHUE. Analyzed mold samples. Alpha. Infiltrate factory. Okay. I just saved. God damn it, Joey. Why are you like this? Get out of the fucking church. And when I got in there, I could have sworn I heard like a monster. That was actually pretty scary. John must go on. Let's go cook some shit though, because I think I picked up chicken. Hey Duke, fat piece of shit. I got some num nums. I think. So I think it's where I have to go anyway. What's up, brah?
It's my greatest pleasure to see you return alive. Shall I choose something for you?
No. Do I have any meats? Where's the beef? I ain't got shit. Okay, but eat that. I need some more fishies. I need more fish. That's what I need. And I'll probably find it in the next area, I'm guessing. But yeah, it looks like I just need some fish.
To hunger is to be alive.
I don't buy that you're hungry, Duke. Let's see. Crystal fragments, that's right. Arch crystal. Is that combinable? Maybe worth something? No, it's not. The quartz. I'm gonna check my treasures real quick. I just wanna make sure that these aren't combinable. Treasure. No. Okay.
Yeah. Welcome.
No, not the kitchen. No.
I'm skilled at all sorts of weapons modifications, and will do them for a small fee. And buy it I will.
All right. And then can I upgrade anything? I think I'm full. No, I'm not. Ah, shit.
What? Ah, it's fine. All finished.
Oh, that's right. I do have the Magnum. I forgot about that.
These hands are more dexterous than one might think.
That's awesome. Oh, shit. Yeah, I guess power is the one, right? That's a lot of money. Oh. You do it. Fire, reload speed. Probably reload speed.
One moment, please.
Yes, rate of fire, but I could do both. Hell yeah. Type shit. Cool. I'm rich, bitch.
Life. Thank you for your patronage.
You're welcome. Oh, I've been wasting inventory space. Whoa.
What was that?
What was that? Where have I seen that logo before?
What?
Did I save? Going that way. What's like about built this? I'm just like, yeah, and then when you put it in there, like the torches are gonna light, and it's gonna lead a whole path, dude. You have to have the path. You have to have the path. And when the lights reach the door, dude, that's when they open. The gates open. Like, did somebody program this? Is this all mechanical? Wait, what? Oh, it's locked. Damn it, I keep... It's so sensitive, I'm sorry. Actually, shotgun. Shotgun, okay. And yeah, this is the... Yeah, I remember. Now... Oh yeah, I gotta go to the ceremony site, guessing. Even though there is that boat down there. Should I do the boat? Where's the boat take me? Find Heisenberg. I don't think he's there. I think he's in like ceremony site, right? I think that's what it wants me to do, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna go this way. Think. Yeah, this is where I find the fish. Did you finish Marvel Zombies? Oh, I did. Yeah, that's why, dude, I'm tired as hell. I was up pretty late watching that. I liked it a lot. Anybody listening, potential spoilers for Marvel Zombies. Likely stories. I might talk about it anyway, because there's some hype shit that happens. That was like an end game level fucking final boss fight. That was cool. Wait, did you finish it? My bad. I just assumed. I don't think this is where Heisenberg's at. I think he's actually, it might be. It's probably over here. Yeah, ceremony site. Yeah, and then that opens up. That's where I gotta go. Blade was badass. Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was. Yeah, it's funny. I wonder if they had plans for this back when they were still trying to get like Mahershala Ali to actually fucking act in the goddamn like live action. Wait, I think I'm going the right way now. But also making him Moon Knight, that was just dope. I'll do one at a time just because I feel like there's no throw. Ooh. It's funny, I don't need money anymore because I'm so good at this game. Every time he was on screen, he stole the show. Yeah, I think he was the best like side character in that. Can I light him on fire? Come here, guy. Oh, I can. Cool. Sapphire oh shit. Whatever these things are called. Let's call them ghouls. I don't know what they are. You know, it's funny. I like how he was still in the likeness of Mahershala Ali. He was just voiced by somebody else. Get up. There was one part that made my jaw drop. It was a little... Oh, yeah. Know exactly what you're talking about. I was like, no! Oh, I gotta light homeboy on fire. That's what it is. They're gonna keep spawning. That scene was pretty sick, though. I don't know. That was a fun show. I liked it. I hope we get more. I would like another one. Another one. Oh. Get off me. Please don't kill me. Asshole. It stung. You son of a bitch! Golden Lady statue? Aw, snap. Alright, now that I open this, then keep spawning. There's more in here. Oh. Ooh, nice. They kind of set up for it for more. Yeah, they did. That was actually a really cool ending. So, my manager let it slip because I didn't know, but he finished it before I got to see it, and he had mentioned that there was a and spoilers, everybody. Kinda. I don't care, but there's a cliffhanger ending. I actually liked how. Hey, what up, Devilf? I like how it ended, like a little like mind matrix happening. What up, Devilf? How you doing, dude? How's your night going? I'll probably be streaming this for like maybe another hour or so. That's where the boat is. This is where I save. Finish the item that was requested. Please deliver to the house with the... Oh yeah, I already read that before. So, oh, there is another well. Oh, that's probably where I go. What a thrill. With darkness and silence through the night. What a thrill. Searching and I'm melting. The only thing I really wish out of the show was I wish they would have shown how it all started. I know it's a continuation of the What If episode, but it would have been cool seeing the very beginning. Yeah, I mean, you do see like day one with like Shang-Chi and stuff and Aquafina, I forget her name, escaping the city and stuff. But I know what you mean. Like, it'd be nice to see like Patient Zero, which I think was Wanda. Is that what they said? Did it start with Wanda? I need to watch the episode of What If again. I don't know if they actually do talk about it or not. Now I think about it. Like, yeah, I know what you're saying. It'd be nice to see it, but I do think they might talk about how it started. I don't remember. I'm probably wrong. I usually am. Oh, god damn it. No, I'm too stupid for this right now. Shit. All right. Puzzle time. Pizza time. All right, cool. Chew. No, I mean like where it shows how Hank Pym caused it from the beginning, like in the comics. Oh, well, they already explicitly said that it's a completely different story. They're not it's like it starts different, the inciting incident's different. It's just the concept of Marvel Zombies, but it's not based on that. Which would be cool, because that was pretty metal, like when Magneto gets eaten and shit. But I do think it's pretty interesting how it's going now. There's something down here I can get before I fuck up and... okay. That Hulk shit was hype, dude. Hulk shit was cool. Large pigeon. Oh shit! I think that was what I needed. Just what I need. Just what I needed. Treasure. Mine with. Yep. Boom. Then we got necklace. Very valuable. Flashbang. Oh shit. Is there more to pick up in here? It's still red. Is there a treasure to shoot? What am I missing? The only thing, if they make more, I don't know how they gonna do it with everything else that's already happened. Well, here's the thing. It looks like Wanda totally got, you know, all the powers of the Infinity Stones in her right now. So with that, she can warp reality to be whatever. She can bring people back. She can kill them off. You know what I mean? So at least that, whoever the lineup's going to be, you know, who knows? But it ends with literally, it looks like at least Miss Marvel, but other people are very likely trapped in some sort of like Mind Stone hex spell matrix kind of thing, you know? So I think that's a great starting point for something. I don't know why they're there, what her fucking plan is, but it looks like that's the case currently. I fucks with it. There is a treasure down there and I want it. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna go look. I might have fucked up. It's probably... oh man. I'm gonna just double check. I hate leaving items behind, especially in Resident Evil. Well, in the original comic, I remember that everyone was turned to a zombie, ate Silver Surfer, yeah, and then the Galactus went on rampage throughout the universe. Yeah, and then they start hopping dimensions. I'm actually a really big fan of that Ultimate Fantastic Four comic that introduces the Marvel Zombies. When Ultimate Reed is like attracted to, or he like gets like a signal from another Reed from another dimension, and he's just, it turns out it was all just a ploy from the zombies to get more food from a different dimension. I like that. Damn it, it's probably like up there. I probably fucked up. Maybe when I loop around, that's probably what it is. It's on one of the boxes that was like trapped here or something. I couldn't access it. I'm just guessing. Or it could be a gem I can shoot. I think that's the case. There's more treasure in here. I won't be able to get it until I loop back around after I finish. Also, there's no box right here or anything, right? Just... Alright, we're good. Let's go. This is like the world's biggest ladder. I wonder if they'll ever do anything with the maker. Oh, it's only a matter of time. What the fuck? Oh, what a Jay. It's definitely a matter of time before that happens. The maker is like absolutely one of the best Marvel villains, and especially in recent history. Maker is the shit. And a lot of people do like him. So, in fact, my theory is that they're actually gonna kill Doom in Doomsday, and then I think the Maker is probably gonna be the main villain of Secret Wars, or at least in it. That's what I think is gonna happen. He's gonna be in it. Probably not Doomsday. He's probably gonna be teased, or he'll be like in the post-credit for Secret Wars, or Doomsday going into Secret Wars. Wait, oh my god, where do I go? Hold on, god damn it, game. Okay, we did the drawbridge. It came from there. Oh, the boat. That's right. Let's get the fuck out of here. This was like a little side area. How if they do Battle World and Secret Wars? Dude, me too. If they're gonna do this fucking ultimate dimension or alternate dimension, you know, variant stuff, dude, go all the way. And yeah, please give me Battle World. We'll have like a Fox, Marvel Fox land. He'll have Ghost Riders. That'd be kind of cool. And here's the thing, and this is, if they're smart, this is what they'll do. They'll do Battle World, but then they'll really capitalize it on their fucking cartoons and shit, you know? Because you know goddamn well they're gonna do like a spin-off Moon Knight versus Man-Thing or something, you know? Where's my phone blowing up? Do you know everything about Battle World? Not everything, but I know a lot about it. I read some of those comics. The one I read the most was Contest of Champions, and then Ghost Riders. That was fun. That was like Wacky Races, but what if Ghost Rider? Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh shit. The game's just screaming at me. Boss fight. DNA sequencing complete. 99.95 match to Dolby medium ice seat. The deviation of 0.05 can presumably be attributed to the artificial changes by humans, which means this is probably the source. Further investigation into how connections managed to find and extract the mold is needed. The fungal colony is spread out underneath the entire village. When you take the Baker incident into account, the hosts of the Metamycete are part of the network of consciousness. If that network is linked to here, then we could assume this organism's here is storing. Sorry. If the network is linked to here, then could we assume this organism here is data storage? If that's the case, then what data is Miranda after? But yeah. Sorry, Battle World. I think it's gonna be awesome if they do it. I think they should do it. Imagine if in Secret Wars they did RDJ as Doctor Doom and then had a variant of Iron Man that was also RDJ fighting each other. I could see them doing that because they just won't let the man die. I could totally see that. I don't know. We just have to wait and see. I mean, it's one of those cases where I worry like the movie we're coming up with right now is better than what they release, but. I think it'll be cool. I'm excited to check it out whenever it is out. I think that's actually the last 2 bits that I needed. I don't know if there's anything else really for me to get after this. And then yeah, I think Kevin Feige said something similar, but I was already under the mindset, just because that you kind of have to, is that after Secret Wars, the MCU is actually can just have a soft reset, like a Days of Future Past for the MCU kind of style situation, or MK1, the new MK1, or MK9. Shit. That's where I came from, right? Okay, yeah, because I gotta go. I'm not gonna go there yet. That's where it wants me to go. I'm really glad I went off the beaten path because I got a lot of cool shit now. Imagine they had a variant of Spider-Man called Spider's Man in the movie. Yeah, that would be kind of neat. I think they said Tobey Maguire is probably gonna be in it. But yeah, I see Spider's Man being neat. Honestly, we'll probably get Spider's Man in the next Spider-Verse movie.
Well,
and I want superior Spider-Man.
To hunger is to be alive. We've gathered all the ingredients.
Increases permanently. Well, the theory about all the Marvel movies, including Secret Wars, is the title screen are different colors of the stones, and the last one is orange, which is the reality stone, if I'm correct. That's going to lead into a reboot of the universe. Yeah, they already did that. Already said that. Also, you're really lucky I know what you're talking about, because that sentence made no sense. How, like, all the Avengers movie titles is a color of the Infinity Stones. I forget the order. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. And then you said it's orange, which is reality. I thought red was reality. If I'm correct, is it an orange stone? If I'm correct, yeah. Do you know Spider's Man? Yeah, it's Spider-Man, but it's spiders in the costume, shaped like a man. Like he's made up of spiders. That's Spider's Man.
Not a bad dish. We've gathered all the ingredients. Now.
I think because I read Spider-Verse as it was coming out. That was back when I had an actual pull box. Look at all the Avengers movie titles. They're all different colors. That are the colors that are coordinate. Yeah, that's.
Here it is. Please join me.
You are correct. Damage taken when guarding has greatly decreased permanently. That's awesome
I
too.
wouldn't mind having that again.
And then movement speed. So I gotta find more fishies, which I think is gonna be the next area. And then I have. Oh wait, let me drop this one off.
Next ingredient, as you wish.
Yeah, because it starts off. I don't remember the colors. It's probably like silver or like that kind of cool blue. I know Age of Ultron's red.
My friend.
Infinity War was what? Gold? I don't think it was purple because I think Endgame's purple or green. Endgame's green. Anyway, sorry. I do know what you're talking about.
Don't let up yet.
Now I just need 6 fish. Oh, and can I drop some stuff off to sell? I mean, I don't really need the money.
Sure to be a good meal.
right, stop talking. Let me talk to you.
Oh,
Okay.
good. I was just thinking of ways to pass the time.
Aw. Antique coin. Valuable. Oh. Necklace. Very valuable. Glad I found those pieces and waited. Lady D statue. This is back when she's alive. That's cool. Plates. And that's it. I got 100. Damn.
Now to spend like kings. Do let me know.
Your boy, what's your favorite Marvel movie?
else of value?
I'm leaning MCU, but if you have like, dude, I just really like Spider-Man 2 with Toby or something, like, I'm just curious if you have like a favorite. Mine might be Infinity War. I just saved. I know I did. I know I did. I did. That's okay. All right, now we're gonna go fight Heisenberg. Yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy is awesome. Iron Man 1 is a banger still. I actually like Iron Man 3 a lot. I like Iron Man 3 more than Iron Man 2. Thor 1 and 2 are kind of eh, but Thor Ragnarok is fucking up there. Imagine if one of the Marvel movies they decided to do the plot line with the collaboration where Mr. Sinister was impregnated by a xenomorph and there was a xeno hybrid inside of Mr. Sinister. Ben Reilly was my favorite Spider-Man. Ben Reilly is a good Spider-Man. And yeah, you're talking about Aliens versus Avengers, or Avengers versus Aliens, whatever came first. Yeah, that's a good one. That Venom fight was pretty hype. This looks really familiar. I thought I had to be here. Heisenberg! No, where are you? Where are you? Is it demarked? I'm just going completely the wrong way. Oh my god, I know. Alright, everybody, ignore me. Ben Reilly was your favorite spot? So, do you like Ben Reilly more than Peter? Is what you're saying? Not judging, just asking. Oh, that's right, I opened it. Idiot. Good luck. Thanks. Anything for me to pick up while I'm here? Crows I can kill? That's right, and I turned back. I remember. Ben Reilly, in my opinion, has a better storyline work. He's a clone. He's having an identity crisis compared to Peter Parker, who's just poor, and his biggest enemy is bills. The thing I like about Peter in particular is that it's not necessarily his biggest enemy is his bills. I know what you're saying, but I think it's just he's really the only, or at least the first superhero to really delve into the double life thing, you know? He's just a kid trying to make rent, but also he's doing what he thinks is right. He's always late, can't catch a break. But he keeps going on, you know, just keeps swimming, just keeps swinging. And I'm always gonna just love him for that. He's like, he's our guy, you know, he's the working man superhero. I never read much of Ben Reilly stuff. I know I've read stories around him. I also know the other Scarlet, which was Kane. No, that's, yeah, it's Kane. Anyway, but I never actually read like many stories where Ben Reilly is the main character. So you probably got more background and context with that than I do. I would like to see. I would like to say I think it is the Superior Spider-Man where Doc Ock takes over Spider-Man's body and where Wolverine takes over Spider-Man's body. Very no. I think you are combining Superior Spider-Man with that Ultimate Spider-Man episode. I kind of hate that show. But yes, Superior Spider-Man to me is one of the best Spider-Man stories ever told. I read that from because I was reading Amazing Spider-Man at that time, so I was already following it with the 600 issue, Amazing Spider-Man 600, where he actually dies after the mind transfer, and then just getting the flood of memories and realizing the responsibility and the power that this kid had the entire time, you know. There's more in there. And he wants to be not just Spider-Man, but the better Spider-Man, the superior Spider-Man. I fucking love that shit. And I would say he by the end, he was doing great. He led that team during Spider-Verse, and that was cool. You get it? Okay. Like lost. That's okay. I'm gonna get through here. Then we're gonna loop around. There was a comic book where Dr. Octopus took over Spider-Man body. I know, I'm talking about that. Superior Spider-Man, I know. And even had a business like Oscorp. Yeah, it was the Parker Foundation. He teams up with Max from Horizon Labs also. And then he ends up starting, ultimately, I think it's Horizon, what ultimately becomes Ultimax, like the Oscorp-like company in 2099. I was there. The Goblin War with Superior Spider-Man was sick. That part when the Avengers kind of turn on him, they're like, yo, what the fuck is happening? what are you doing, dude? That shit was all fun. And then I think MJ breaks up with Peter at that point. Yeah, I can't go anywhere. Oh, I can go this way. There we go. Oh, I know. I'm gonna fight one of the big boys here. I know it. Can I go in that water? And then I forget her name. Liliana? Lily? Something. Otto ends up, I guess, falling in love with a Maria? A little person. She's a scientist, and I was like, good for you, man. Guess I just gotta shoot these. Do you remember Wolverine and Spider-Man's body? I don't remember that in the comics. I remember seeing that in Ultimate Spider-Man, a cartoon I actively hate. I don't remember that in the comics. I'm sure it happened. It probably did, yeah. Oh yeah, because that way's locked. But yeah, tell me all about the Spider-Man and Wolverine. Hi, Piggy. It's like Boys in the Hood, but instead of Ricky, it's like Piggy. Wolverine was trying to get with MJ while he was in Spider's body the whole time. It's not okay, Logan. That's like some Zeus level shit. Oh, cool. Was that in the 616 Marvel universe, the main one, or was that in like Ultimate? Oh shit. It was one of the comics where Wolverine took over Spider-Man's body. Can't remember which one. I just remember Wolverine was creeping at MJ all the time. It's fucked up. Wolverine, that's a no-no. Oh my god. Oh shit! Alright guys, hold on, I'll catch up in chat in a minute. I have to handle this. These bat things are fucking annoying me. This is stressful enough. Oh, ah! Okay, hold on. This one. We came back to Marvel. Welcome back, Jay. Wait, where is he? Like, got me? Ah! Oh shit. I think that was a finisher it probably wanted me to do, but I was too scared to get close to it. Alright, maybe they might do a DC versus Marvel collaboration, comics, and a movie or TV show. Dude, that would be great. I don't think we'll ever see something like that. I know they do it in the comics. Maybe a show, maybe like an animated special. But live action, I don't think we'll ever see that like in an official capacity. Yeah, because I like talking about goofy stuff in comics. Anyone remember the superhero team in DC Comics called Section 8? No. Personally, no. Oh, I gotta go back to the church after this. I forgot to get the goat that was on. The goat! Oh, it's down here. Hear it. Close. Fuck is it? Sorry, these goats are annoying me. It's like those fucking dolls in we were watching Jay's Fatal Frame streams. I know you're in here. I can hear you. Like on a rafter or something? Sounds so close. But no, who's Section 8? The name sounds familiar, but I can't pinpoint the lineup. There was one guy on the team, his name was Six Pack. He got his powers from drinking alcohol. There was one comic where he was just trying to convince Batman to join his team, and Batman was being a jerk, and then he got a ticket written up on his Batmobile, and then another another comic, Superman was giving Six Pack a bottle of liquor to help him fight. Sounds pretty funny. There was a comic that I read. I forget what it was called. It was like a quick, I think it was just like a little 6-issue graphic novel thing, you know, like a one and done. I forget what it's called, but it deals with a superhero who's in rehab, right? And then his power is that he gets like godlike fucking like just great superpowers on drugs and stuff. Like it could be like coke, weed, alcohol, caffeine. Like he gets different abilities, and it deals with him kind of retired. And then, you know the deal. There's always like a new threat that comes back in, and you gotta fight that threat. Where the fuck is this goat? Yes. Whatever. This way. I think you're talking about Snowflame, the superhero that gets his power from starting cocaine. No. Black Panther, Falcon, Luke Cage. What? There was another guy on Section 8 whose power was intimidation through making threats of sexual assault. Jesus. No, hold on. Superhero gets powers from drugs. God, it's like not Snowflame. No, not him. It's actually gonna bother me if I don't find it. It was graphic novel. Buzzkill. It's Buzzkill. It's called Buzzkill. That was a fun read. Yeah, his name's, or the comic is called Buzzkill. I read it at we have a barcade. Not barcade. It's like this cool like nerdy themed kind of like a cosplay bar called Millennium Fandom Bar. Pretty dope. You know what this fucking goat is. But anyway, and they have like a wall of comics that you can just read, like a library, and that's where I read it. I recommend it. July 8th. Today's the day. Look up the members of Section 8 DC Comics. I guarantee you won't regret it. I will if I remember. July 8th. Today's the day the Jolly Merchant stops by. Why's it gotta be Jolly, He always gives me old newspapers. I know Miranda forbids them, but news of the outside world is always so fascinating. There was one thing that piqued my interest in the last one. It was an article about some medicine company. I don't remember the name, but the emblem looked familiar. Oh, yeah. It was the same symbol on the giant's chalice. I'm pretty sure I saw the same one painted on the walls in the cave too. The radiating umbrella image really stands out. What some outsider company emblem is doing here. I wonder if it had anything to do with that man that stayed here all those years ago. Nah, I'm overthinking it. Father Nicholas. Uh-oh. Can I craft any? Yes. Oh my god, that was kind of cool. Did I even get anything? Hang on. Oh, the chalice. Right. I'm gonna go visit the Duke. Ain't the last time? At least in the village. But what are you up to, you boy? You working tonight? I forget. I think I already asked you that. If I did, I'm sorry. But I don't remember. Sell some shit.
Splendid. Do you know its worth?
Oh.
Food is life.
Everything's upgraded. Oh, even the Magnum? Even the Magnum. Kitchen.
Ah, thank you.
Hang still. I have all this meat on me. I guess I don't need it. I guess just sell. Yeah, I did all these. I just need fish and yeah, 5 fish.
It's sure to be a good meal.
I wonder where the rest of the fish are. Is it ahead or am I leaving stuff behind? Let me see, because there might be, like if I backtrack and there might be some fish over here maybe. Might be worth a quick look, but also navigating this map sucks all the dick, so maybe not. Yeah, I'm working, almost done. Got like an hour left. All right, nice. I hope you're having a good shift. All right, let's go. Because now I gotta go. Actually, have it this way, right here. This one, next one. And this is where shit goes down, son. What? Ah, shit. I hope it's a bad shift, you son of a bitch. That's funny. What up, Deadwolf? How you doing? What was your stream? You were playing Jump Space. I gotta check that out at some point. It doesn't look bad.
Damn, you sure?
But thank you so much for the raid. Everybody here, I don't know if you're familiar with me. My name is Shattered Limit. I'm mostly a variety streamer, but I'm playing all the Resident Evils. That's the popular thing to do now. Super fun. It's only 20. How y'all doing? Well, the next game I want to get is Silent Hill, but I can't play that until actually maybe that'll be my October game, you know. But I really have to finish Resident Evil. I only got like 2. Got this, which I'm almost done with, and then remake of 4, and then I'm done with like the main line, even the spin-offs. Then I have other bullshit I want to do after that, like some of the mobile games. What? Double raid? Oh shit! Thank you. Thank you so much for the raid. It'll take you all of October to finish those? Yeah, I probably will. But I do have PTO in October, so hopefully I can just sit down and do that. But welcome in, Raiders. Thank you so much for the raid. Brixie, were you also playing? Yeah, you were playing Jump Space. How was you? How was your stream? Once again, everybody else, any newbies here, my name is Shattered Limit. You can probably call me Joey. Most people do. It's fine. I'm a variety streamer, and I like Resident Evil.
It'll be fine.
Yeah, thank you so much for the raids, guys.
Just get your ass across the bridge.
Oh, yeah, this is, we have Nicolas Cage at home. We have Nicolas Cage, but he looks like Peter Stormare. Hi, Shat. Hi, Brixie. What's good in the hood? What's good with it? So I should probably craft some shit. Just a little bit, and then I'm good on that. And then no. But, welcome in, everybody.
Ethan Winters. Welcome.
Welcome.
I
Oh.
didn't think you'd make it past Daughter Moreau, but I suppose you survived worse back in America, hmm? I like you. I'd like to speak to you about Rose and Miranda.
Oh.
Oh, come on in. Don't worry. It's not a trap.
Don't worry. It's not a trap. You're fine, bro. It's just us guys. We're just talking. It's just us girls. We're gonna compare viruses and talk about boys. Oh. I don't know what I'm doing with him. This character is evolving. Alright, it's not a trap, we're good. I'm good, tired as fuck. Get all the extras. Oh yeah, now I'm doing as much as I can on the way. I think there's like 5 fish coming up. Unless I'm missing something. That's all I'm missing is just 5 fish, and then I have 1 more meal to make, and then I have all the extra shit. And then when I leave, I find the ball, so I can do the last of those little ball labyrinth, you know, little track ball puzzles. I think I'm doing everything on the way, and I'm gonna do the DLC as well. Okay. Oh, it's locked. Okay, that makes my decision a lot easier. Are you going to sleeps? Getting some rest? Are you just gonna chill? Yeah, here soon. Nice, nice. I've been dumb. My sleep schedule's it's about the same as usual. Shit. I'm probably gonna play this for like maybe another hour. I said that an hour ago. And I just got raided. I gotta keep the show must go on, you know? Snack time and chill? Hell yeah, brother. What are you gonna snack on? These nuts? Aha! Gotti! Who do you think would win the fight between these two teams? The mystery men or the losers? The losers would fuck them up. You know it. Nice.
What the hell?
Yeah, my money's on the losers.
Truth hurts, don't it? Let me guess. You're thinking, take me out like the others, and then he gets to go and save Rose, right?
I'm healing my dog.
That's who I think would win in a fight.
Look, you got the sword.
Aw.
Tell me I'm talking. Shut your fucking hole! Sorry about that. Take a seat. Listen, Ethan, you're being played.
What are you talking about? You think this is a game?
I said sit! Lady, supersized bitch. Ugly ass psycho doll. And that moronic freak.
I mean, Baby Bowler is a bit of a wild card. Yeah, she is, but you know, they could snipe her from 2 miles away.
To see if you're strong enough to be a part of Miranda's family.
I don't want to be a part
Like the
of
thing about the mystery men is like they don't really like kill. They're not like trained killers. They're just like street level.
Kill me, move up the chain. Well, fuck that!
The losers are
I
kind
don't give a
of like
damn
master
about your
marksmen.
personal issues. I just want to fix my daughter.
So do I.
That's me.
You have any
You're right. The
idea how
bowler
powerful that kid
is probably
Even
the
Miranda's scared of her.
only one that could stand a chance.
Last time, you freak, I swear to God!
The spleen is dead. The fork guy is dead. The shoveler is dead. I forgot his name. Ben Stiller with his rage.
We go save Rose,
He's
and we
dead.
can use her to grind Miranda.
Invisible
into
Boy's dead.
bits.
My daughter is not a weapon.
Bowler's
Fuck
probably
you.
dead. I don't know. That's me.
Last chance.
Fuck
Go
you.
and find out what's
Are you
in
playing the new
the
Silent Hill? I am.
I'll take my chances.
I am still trying to decide if I'm gonna
Your future.
play that first or the Resident Evil 4 remake first. But I really am excited for new Silent Hill. And I have some PTO next month as well, so I can definitely oh shit. Put some time into either one. Well, okay, let me rephrase it. Then the losers versus Suicide Squad, but the original Suicide Squad. So that would be hold on. Sorry, this is a little rough right now. Crouch! Captain Boomerang, Rick Flag, right? Or even before the villains, it was just like a team of soldiers. Are you talking about the first incarnation that used the villains? Or the first incarnation of the team in general? Because I remember the first lineup, if I'm not mistaken, it was basically just like DC's Howling Commandos. Like, it was just guys. I think they relaunched it in like a volume 2 or something like that. And then that's the one that had... I just remember Captain Boomerang. I know he's an original one. Maybe Deadshot. Certainly not Harley. I don't remember that original team that very well. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Shit, there's more in here. There starts to be a lot of a Maximo level. Maximo versus Army of Zin. There's definitely like 3PO, turn off the garbage compactor, or whatever the fuck he's screaming. Like, it looks like that, like the Star Wars, like, dirty. Fine. Oh shit. Oh shit. Okay, there we go. How about now? No. There's gotta be more here. Can't be it. There's some treasure, something I can shoot. Oh, and there is like a second floor. I think I'm getting a little too ahead of myself. Over here, yeah, let's... And the claw shadow was freaking me out. I'm gonna oh sorry, I'm gonna wait a little bit. I want to finish Chronos first. Oh, Chronos looks great. I was watching some of your stream of that. I really want to play it, and it's from Bloober. They did that pretty good Silent Hill 2 remake. Oh shit. Captain Boomerang, Rick Flag, Deadshot, Harley Quinn, and Big Sir. I don't know who Big Sir is, but I guarantee you. So wait, so you know that's not the original lineup of the Suicide Squad, right? In the comics, you're just saying this is the lineup that you have in mind versus the losers, or is that what it was? It was I just want to make sure we're on the same page before I answer this. Because the dork in me wants to let you know that that's not the original team. Fuck, there's more in here. No more items. No. Can't leave it red. Hold on, I'm gonna go back and double check. See, I knew I was forgetting something. Where the fuck is it? Oh! Ah! Yes! Hell yeah. Type shit. That lineup would be OP if they had Enchantress, Katana, and King Shark. Yeah, honestly, King Shark. Honestly, those three alone would probably fuck up the losers. But if you were talking about the losers versus a team of Captain Boomerang, Rick Flag, Deadshot, Harley Quinn, and I don't know what Big Sir is. Who's Big Sir? But I mean, Captain Boomerang's using like his trick boomerangs and they explode and shit or something, and you know him, Rick Flag, he's basically like, you know, one of the losers. Harley Quinn, Deadshot is like inhumanly accurate and deadly. You know what I mean? Honestly, Deadshot himself, at least skill wise, like offensive power, he's probably about as shooty as the losers combined.
This place is messed up.
Harley's useless. He's just a wild card. It's not useless, but you know what I mean. Hammer versus guns, it's not. It doesn't really work out. Yeah. Sorry, I've been kind of overthinking this, maybe. I hear breathing. Oh, it's this guy. What's up, dog?
Oh, good. I was just thinking of ways.
Big
to
Sir
pass the
is like a
time.
Bane type character. I'm gonna look up Big
I've
Sir right
procured
now.
Some new items for you, Mr. Winters.
Oh, dude, I've never seen this guy before. Looks stupid. Why does he look like that? He kind of reminds me of the fat one from Recess. The hey guys, I like poetry. That guy looks like him, but a super villain. Extra baggage. I'm good for it. Let's do it.
God created man's
Oh
back to
fuck! I should have waited.
But to
There's
think you want to
a
pile
new
on-
shotgun. Focus has to make it powerful against single enemies, customizable for even more firepower. How much if I sell my existing shotgun? I also got a little fully automatic handgun. Oh shit! And that actually does a lot of 200. Dog, they have Harley Quinn as guns as well. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Are you talking about Mikey from Recess? That sounds right. I like poetry. That's the only thing I can imagine him
Please
saying.
let me know if you'd like to strengthen your weapons.
If I sell, it's 7,000 back. That's not enough. Oh, that's just the foregrip. Oh, might be able to. Oh, and these guys. Oh, damn, dude. I need more money. Hold on. I'm just gonna stick with what I have for now. I'm just gonna get some ammo.
Aha!
A dot site. Or this, yeah, the SIG. I don't have that one. Full span increased capacity cylinder for 100,000. Yeah, that's too much right now. It's too much. Mikey also sung as well that song nobody knows.
This is all an investment.
The troubles are. Yeah, I see that thing. Okay, just checking everything. All right, we're good.
Please come again.
Oh, wait, you're here. We're gonna save. There we go. I'm on B4. Why the fuck not? Fine. I'm gonna use the elevator anyway. Can I take this map? Oh no. Hey, there's more shit in here. Where? Oh yeah, that's right. There's this where I need the ball. Where am I on? B4. Okay, it's stupid. I know that. Oh. Hell yeah. I do go this way? I do go this way. And then, yeah, it's clear except that room. Okay. Good night, my sweet prince. Good night, Feels Dry. Thanks for hanging out, dog. I appreciate you. I don't know which one to use. Thanks for hanging out. And thanks for the laughs earlier. It's like some kind of locking mechanism. Looks easy to break. What does this do first? I was on the power. Boy, chat, let's start a band and call it the primaries. Let's do it. Our initials will spell RGB. None of our initials start with RG or B. Well, that's why we'll have to have like aliases, you know, like the Spice Girls. I'll be Green Spice, you be Red Spice. Heading to bed, Shoddy. Want to say goodnight. Peace out, Shoddy. I hope you got all the wins in Fortnite. Good night and good morning. Good looking. Our first song could be RGB is not primary. Could be, yeah. Let's do it. I gotta put something there. Hole in wall and oh yeah. Yeah, not yet. Got nothing. Walk to the other side? Wait a minute. Ah, I guess I do go this way. Oh. Got he. Oh, I need like a key. Oh yeah, I gotta equip that. Lockpick? The album could be called On the Spectrum. Yeah, it could. Oh shit. Not yet, I'm not ready.
Did he do this too?
Did Sephiroth do this? And it'd be red in here. Give me an item to pick up. There it is. It's not all of it either. Damn. It's probably on him or something, something. There we go. Stay down, please. I knew it. How much ammo do I have?
It's surprising me anymore.
Cool. I hear more breathing. That's right, I gotta take it this way. Wait, oh, relief mold, here we go. Doesn't fit. What? Hold on. Oh, it's right here. I did it again. Damn it, Joey. Oh, no, 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 no. It goes over here. Examine.
Seems useful.
Need the horse key or some shit. It's the last lockpick. Magnum ammo. I hear him. I hear him. I know it's just a joke, but I thought of so many different song titles. Like one could be Paint the Town Red, then another could be Little Boy Blue, and another could be Yellow Belly. Just all be color themed. Nice. They sound close. Oh, there they are. Damn it. Don't judge me. Trying to get hit by this. He's too slow. Nice. Actually, let me lure them all over here. Damn it. I think, yeah, once... Yeah, he just got hit by it. Cool, 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 cool. Alright, now I just have to get through without dying. Challenge accepted. Oh shit, no. Oh shit. There's more of those than I thought. It's okay, I'm pretty sure I can craft more ammo. I'm probably gonna find more on the way anyway. The more I start working on the album based on colors like that once I get the new cord for my microphone, because now I got ideas. Oh, hell yeah, you're inspired now, dude. Shit, I hope the rest is just right here. Fuck. Shit. There's more items in here. Somewhere. I'll go back. Because I don't think that counts. Actually, does it? Hold on. No. Alright, we're gonna... It'll be worth it. Now let's check right here. Because I think I was kind of rushing a little bit. There's probably some stuff, like, on that side. When do you get your new cable? Dang, is there actually nothing in here? There's gotta be like a gem or something I can shoot, right? This is some bullshit. So can I shoot those? Oh, I can. I don't see anything shining. Other than those, but those aren't collectibles. Yeah, I knew that was gonna hit me. Oops. You are stupid. And don't forget, you are stupid. Alright, we're just gonna skedaddle. It could be up here. back. I think it was that it. Please, 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 please. Fuck. Where is this last item? Oh, it could be a. Fuck. All right, it's probably gonna loop around. I think I'm gonna be up higher up. Oh, other side. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Okay. These fuckers are gonna start waking up. Oh, we're back here. Can I save? Oh. Where's that go? Hey, I got a question. Do you know what cord is like a micro USB cord, the ones that the old Android phones use, but it's like fat, bigger version of it? I'm trying to figure out what the cord is called, so when I go to look for a new one, it's for my microphone. You're either talking about USB mini or USB micro. Micro are like the super slim ones that are tiny, like they're like not as, they're like more narrow. And then is my PSP out here? There's like this. Let's see. I have one on me right now without digging some stuff up, but yeah, there's I think if you're talking about the one I think you're talking about, it should be mini. Look up USB mini. That's just a theory. A game theory. Last switch was over here. No, should be here. The items. All right. This won't work. Oh. Mechanical Soldier, sold out. Version 1.0, fully grown male corpse used, removed heart and implanted dough. Muscle stimulation via electrical shock was successful. Brain dead, so no high cognitive ability, only moves by destructive instincts, then stops. I looked at Mini and it looks like the cord. Hell yeah. 1.1, attached gear or headgear to the cranium, electrodes confirm stable brain waves. Experiment 1, like and fight, was dismantled, eaten within 3 minutes. Issues with destructive and murderous capabilities. Hold that. Version 1.10. Replace lower part of the arm with drill. Not enough output for effective movement. Need more live. Need live bodies, perhaps? 1.15. Implanted Cadeau reactor into chest. Output greatly increased. Experiment 2. Lichen fight. Destroy 3 lichens in 1 minute. Good results, but issues with reactor durability. It may stop functioning if the reactor is destroyed. Shoot the weak spot. Got it. Here we go. This is where they're gonna start stepping up. I know it. I'm gonna pull out my magnum. I have plenty of shots, actually. Which one? Yep, I know it. Hey, I got a question. Do you know what D's Nuts is? I'm trying to figure out what D's Nuts is called, so when I go to look for a new one, it's for your chin. I mean, I might be mistaken, but I think you're just looking for D's Nuts. Yeah, just look for those, look for those, and then I think you'll get it, dude. There's no, like, secret code name or anything. Just look up D's Nuts, and you'll find it. I tested the USB port with another cord, and it was charging my battery for my vape. Nice. Hell yeah, brother. I crap magnum ammo. I'll wait. Also, kind of want to save, but we'll get to that. Yeah, it's down here. Are you playing anything tonight, Jay? I'm also glad to hear that you're enjoying your Steam Deck. Oh shit, wrong button. Stupid. Oh, large cog. Here we go. I'm kind of jumping between games. Nothing is sticking. These nuts are gonna stick to your chin. Oh boy.
Oh, Ethan. Such a disappointment. I thought we could join forces against that bitch Miranda. Truly, truly disappointing. She took me. Took us to be her children. She locked
Boom,
us away in
headshot.
the
No, those guys are weak only in those red spots.
Serve her. Can you even understand that humiliation?
I actually wasted that shot because I was hoping he would recoil and his arm would move to reveal it. Did you play Drakengard? Yeah, I think Jay has actually.
I want nothing more than to be free of that bitch. So I need power.
I'm a fan.
I need
100%ed it.
enough power to
Nerd.
destroy her. These are the fruits of my power. The strong will destroy
Oh my
the
god.
weak. That's the way of the world.
At Shattered Limit, you don't own that ball. Check the extension to see
Never
riders.
refused these.
Very well done.
What?
Oh shit. Maybe I should just use the magnum on these guys. Yeah, I'll probably just use a magnum on them again. Oh, I can use that. Coulda, shoulda, woulda. Is this where I came from? This is where I came from. Should let me own
At
that
Shattered
ball.
Limit, you don't
Thanks,
own
guys.
that ball.
Appreciate
Check the
you.
extension to see your items.
Let's see. Flashbang. Right. Oh, damn, this is the more. More. More! Oh, shit. Tight. Cool. Oh, I thought I heard one trying to flank me. Oh yeah, mine's. Dragon Guard deserves a remake. Someone put me in contact with
Breaking Guard
Squeenix.
deserves a remake. Someone put me in contact with Squeenix so I can get it going.
Alright, I'll call my my contact at Squeenix. I'll be like, Mr. Squeenix, Mr. J Conkers would like a word with you. Ah! Oh shit. Oh, it's on his back. Fuck. I have an idea.
My great-grandfather, Jebediah Squeenix, Bueller, did this company with his bare hands.
Jebediah. Your ancestors would be named Jebediah. That's a good one though. Jebediah, that's like... I used to imagine like a pilgrim. Settler. Also like that idea. His name's Jebediah and Square Enix is like Japanese. It says there's more shit in here to collect, and I don't see it. Ooh, it's this way. I haven't been here yet. Have I? Yeah. I have, and this way I can save. Right? Right? Yeah, but I'm gonna get lost if I don't and be like, where do I go? I might as well just keep going. If he was Japanese, it would be pronounced Jebudaya. Could be some shit down here. There could be a treasure to shoot. Let me just make sure I'm not missing anything, like, down here. Which I could be. Damn it. Drawer? Jebediah Squeenixu. Alright, I guess we're just gonna go forward then. Forward onto the breach. I mean, do that. Uh-oh. Yep. Oh shit. Ah! There we go. He's back. Oh shit, no, I hit Q. Alright. That was scary. Wait. Wait. Hold on. Oh, yeah, this. And this is empty? Okay. But then there's more stuff in that room. Let me go look one more time. Is this the room? Yes. This is an entrance over here too. I thought I heard footsteps. It scared me. It's just factory noises. They know what they're doing. See, there's something's in here. I wish this game had the psychostimulants that the previous one did, 7. And at least that way I'll be able to just pinpoint what I miss. What the fuck is it? I checked here. This isn't really a drawer I can look into. I don't see anything I can shoot and make fall. Oh, it's upstairs. Oh, that actually helps. Okay, so it's up here, and then what the fuck? Could it be... No, there's no other floor. Oh, that sucks. Behind something? Not in here. Alright, well... Fuck. It's not in here, right? Doesn't count, yeah. I don't see anything shootable other than these dipshits. Oh, maybe there's something on it? Like there's a gem? Either one of these or one of the enemies, like their butt or something? No? The other side? What if I shoot that? Oh, there is something right there. Found it. Worth it. All right. Oh shit!
You again?
Crouch! Crouch! It's right next to the map button. Oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god. Well, that scared me.
Thanks to your consistent patronage, I've expanded my services.
Hell yeah, brother.
Welcome.
Still no fish.
This is all an investment, even.
Findable. Nothing else is, so I'll just hold on to that for the meantime. Upgrades, which is nice.
Pay me no mind.
I would like these other guns, that'd be kind of cool. Shuri, stop it. Don't need capacity.
Leave this to me.
Even though
securing goods
there's
is
this
more
gun,
important than anything.
It's just 200 damage, 200 power from the get-go. That's awesome. Like, should I do that? Mine does 190 at max. This one starts off at 200. It's probably not accurate at all, but I think I'm gonna do it. Is it 9mm pistol, machine pistol? Yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna sell the other one because I think me upgrading increases the value of the one I sell. I'm pretty sure. No, that'd be fucked up.
To hunger is to be alive.
We got this. And then there's that new shotgun, but let's give this a go for now. And then it gives me all the parts back. Yeah, okay, it does.
I'm skilled at all sorts of weapons modifications, and will do them for a small fee. Delighted to.
I got bad news for Fields. There's already a band called The Primaries. Dang. He's crushing his dreams.
Thank you.
Oh.
for your patronage.
Fuck. Okay. There the fuck. All right. Here's what's gonna happen. I have work in the morning, so I actually have to call it, guys. So I'm gonna raid out. Nah, keep playing. I can't. I do have like one more stream. So tomorrow I'll be able to finish it, and then tomorrow I might be able to finish the DLC. If not, oh, delete. Fallen sick. Tempting, very tempting. But no, I gotta at work. I got shit to do. Also, I'm gonna see who's live. We're doing this. Sorry, Jay. Jay, can you find it in your heart to forgive me? Which Final Fantasy is Brad playing? Brad is playing... Oh, that's right, because he has Final Fantasy Fridays. Final Fantasy 6, that's a good game. Sonya's playing Claire. Divergence playing GTA. Freezaholic's playing Cyberpunk. I will never forgive this. Oh, Lovely Montan's playing Resident Evil 1 Vanilla. Oh, that would be fun. Let's see which Resident Evil, the remake or the OG? Let's see, do you guys want to watch a New Zealand guy play Final Fantasy 6, or do you want to watch a British VTuber play RE1? No, let's keep the RE going. We're gonna raid. I haven't raided Lovely Montana in a minute. She's very lovely. It's in her name. Final Fantasy. All right, we gotta vote. Brad's awesome. Raid Breeze. No. Raid Brad. Sorry. The tribe spoketh first, at least. Oh. Why is it? Oh, I can't do that through Mix It Up? Alright. I have to do it through OBS or Twitch. Alright, everybody, thanks for hanging out. As always, I appreciate it. I hope you all have a great rest of your night. I'll catch you guys probably tomorrow. Most likely tomorrow, unless, shit happens. But I want you guys to all sleep well, do well, and enjoy your weekend when it comes up. Bye-bye.